Hi everyone, it's me, Josephina Bashout, here to talk to you all. And today I want to talk to you about something that is something that's really close and near and dear to my heart, but something that I also want to bring as this month is Women's Month. And yesterday we just had International Women's Day. This is something that many women face, but not a lot of women speak about and talk about. And it is something that I have been impacted by and affected by directly, which was the ultimate catalyst for my spiritual awakening and growth. I want to talk to you all about and bring awareness today to a women's health issue around cervical cancer, around cervical dysplasia, and severe high-grade CIN 2 and 3, which are cancerous mutated cells that take place in the cervix. I want to speak about this issue today and bring awareness because, one, it's something that I personally worked with. And 10 years ago now, it's officially 10 years ago. Wow, 10 years ago. I was diagnosed with severe high-grade CIN 2 and 3 cervical dysplasia, which meant that my cervix was completely covered in cancerous cells. So when I went to the doctor, I went in to get a pap smear. If you're a woman who has not gone for a pap smear due to COVID, due to the pandemic, I highly recommend that you go in, get a checkup, get a pap smear. Make sure that you are on top of it. Although it seems like a really uncomfortable thing to do, it's also a very necessary thing to do. Because the longer that you put off your pap smears, the more likely you will be in the dark if there is something going on within your cervix and your reproductive system. So please, please, please go on out and get a pap smear. Do yourself a favor, give yourself the peace of mind, and get that off of your plate. I did not do that 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was in my 20s. I was drinking, I was partying, I was playing around in the world and did not have time to put aside to go in and get a pap smear and a checkup because I didn't prioritize it. I didn't even think at all that I would ever be a candidate or someone that would be diagnosed with cervical cancer cells. No way in hell did I think that that would even be my reality. Nor did I even have any education or awareness around it. I thought it was something that I would go in, put my legs up on the sternum, they'd kind of do the swab, I'd feel really uncomfortable, squirmish actually, and then I'd be done and they'd tell me you're good to go and do it because it's pre-regulatory to help yourself make sure that you're just healthy. Didn't really think about it. Well, in my life of playing and partying and experiencing life and having partners and just being who I was in the world in a very fast-paced world, creating products, creating merchandise, working with Cindy Crawford, doing all the things that it seemed like I should be doing at the time, except for putting my health, my reproductive health at the forefront. Because in my 20s, it wasn't really a priority. I didn't really think about having children until one day that all came to a halt. When I went in to get a pap smear and I had an irregular pap smear. The irregular pap smear then required me to go back and get a secondary one. The secondary pap smear was also abnormal. So I had to go in to get something that's called a colposcopy, which for you as a woman, you may have gone on to get a colpo. And a colpo is where they go in and they actually cut out a small little piece, like a tiny little piece, to test the tissue and to see what's going on or why the cells would be abnormal. Well, I went and got my colpo. It was painful. And then I got the diagnosis. And I remember it hitting me like a ton of bricks in my system when the male doctor told me oh, I have some news for you. You have HPV and the human papillomavirus. And not only do you have HPV, you also have high severe grade cervical dysplasia. And I had no idea what that meant. And he says, well, essentially, you are now facing cervical cancer and you're going to have to go in for an immediate surgery, and we're going to need to cut out parts of your cervix. And because your mutation is so severe and it is so high, without it completely taking over your cervix and having to have the whole thing removed, we need to go in and get at it right now aggressively. And there's a chance that we may not get the entire thing. So you have to do this very painful procedure. You're gonna have to go under anesthesia, which I had never done before. Do something that's called a LEEP procedure, LEEP. And then if with the LEEP procedure, we don't get all the cells, your body doesn't heal, we're gonna go back in and we're going to do another LEEP procedure. Oh, and let me tell you that every time you do a LEEP procedure, we cut out a part of your cervix. That means now you have a 30% chance of having a miscarriage. For any woman who's been out there, educate ourselves on what Western medicine and doctors telling us. Suddenly, at the age of 26, my life, my future life of being a mother was on the line. I didn't think about whether I wanted to have children or didn't want to have children up until the moment that that possibility and that freedom was now potentially taken away from me. Doing the LEEP procedure would increase my chances of a miscarriage by 30%. Without them ever getting to the core root of the issue of what was causing the cervical dysplasia and the mutated cells in the first place. Because it was so severe and high grade, the chances were very likely that I would need to go back in for a second operation and a procedure, which meant that now my chances of having a miscarriage would go from 30% to 60%. Imagine receiving that information when you were 26 years old. If you're a woman out there who's facing this right now, I want you to know that I am right there with you. It is scary. It is devastating. It is so nerve-wracking and earth-shaking to have your womanhood on the line by Western doctors that say you have to go this certain way. I didn't go that way, and that's why I'm creating this video. Because I chose to take my healing into my own hands. I didn't want to put my potential children's lives at risk. I didn't want to put my body on the line at risks. I didn't want a male doctor to tell me what to do with my body and that was the only thing that I needed to do. So I went and I got a second opinion from a female doctor. The female doctor told me the exact same thing, that in order to clear the cervical dysplasia, the only solution through Western society and medicine says to do the LEEP procedure. Well, the LEEP procedure is pretty abrasive and it's pretty intrusive. The thing about the LEEP procedure, as I'm speaking today about cervical cancer awareness, is that the LEEP procedure cuts out the entirety of the part of the cervix, which means it cuts out not only the bad cells or the mutated cells, the cancerous cells, but it also cuts out your healthy cells. It cuts out the good part of you, not just the mutated parts of you. So if you're a woman that's going through this, I'm sharing this with you so that you can know that there is another alternative and another way. You don't have to cut out the good parts with the bad parts. I went on a journey. I left that office. I was devastated. I was crying. I called my sisters and we did a lot of research. And in our research, we found a more experiential and more experimental methodology and treatment. It is known through Eastern medicine as Escoratics. It's called Escoratics treatment. The Escoratics treatment is a non-obtrusive way, a non-surgical way to approach, heal, and clear cervical dysplasia as well as HPV, which they say HPV is not curable. That's bullshit. HPV actually is curable because it's associated with your immunity. So if you're out there and you've been diagnosed with HPV, know that taking herbs like reishi and lion's mane and chaga and all of the beautiful mycelium and mushroom families are able to help you heal and clear HPV. Don't take my word for it. I did it. It worked. I'm healed, and I'll go deeper into it. But try it, run it. It works with immunity. So functional medicinal mushrooms works to clear HPV. Sidebar. Secondly, Escoratics treatment is a big treatment that requires a lot of love, care, and attention. Where Western medicine wants to go in, the easy fix, carve out a part of your body in order to heal yourself, which actually Western medicine just removes the part. It never gets to the core root of it. I approached it in a very holistic way. The whole perspective, mind, body, spirit, emotions, all of it, the whole package. And with Escoratics, I'll give you a little bit more detail. Please Google it, do your own research as well, and I'm happy to share more information. I went to a doctor here in Los Angeles. Her name is Dr. Michelle Gerber. She was a wealth of knowledge and an incredible angel and insight healer for me. And she had studied to be an MD and chose to become an ND instead. And I remember going into her office and being really scared. She told me that she would be able to help me, but that it may not require just one round, but maybe require 2 rounds. And it required me to be disciplined and devoted to my healing. I would lean into this possibility for the sake of my body, for my future. And I had the courage to go in an alternative, holistic route to taking my own healing literally in my own hands. Now, Escoratics is a beautiful treatment because it goes directly to the mutated cells. So imagine this is your cervix. I'll do it this way. Imagine this is your cervix, and it's covered in cancerous cells. Well, the front may be covered in cancerous cells, but the round, the top, the side wall is healthy. Now, what LEEP does is it just, like an ice cream scoop, scoops out and carves out the good and the bad. Escoratics is very dialed in and pinpointed to the exact points and spots on the cervix where there is mutated and cancerous cells. So it goes directly onto the cells, and it is applied through a very high grade citric acid, and it's a combination of herbs and natural acids that goes directly on to work as a facial treatment. Very different, right? Non-abrasive, not cutting out, but more of a facial treatment. And from that treatment, it clears layer by layer by layer the mutated and the cancerous cells. Now, I'd have to go into the doctor's office, put my legs on up in that stirrup, spread them on open. She'd go in, and I would have to take these really deep breaths because the treatment was painful. I'm not going to lie. The sensations were really burning. The pain that I was feeling, the shame that I was feeling, the emotions that would come up in those sessions was a holy experience in itself. Then after the treatment was over, which wasn't very long, it was maybe 10 minutes of the inside treatment, I would have to put in these vaginal suppository packs, these vag packs, that were these little like bullet things, and you'd put them inside. And as you put them inside, they have all the healing herbs that you would need that would place like a pack onto your cervix that would create like a second skin and would help your cervix heal naturally, while applying plants and herbs directly onto the wound and the lesions of the spots. And I would sit with that and do that every couple of days. Now, I had to also take, and at home, I carried like a little lunchbox bag with me. And it was essentially all of my herbs and all of my tonics that I had to take to work with my immune system to get myself at the optimal. So I cut out red meat, I cut out dairy, I cut out sugar, all refined sugar, not fruit, but I minimized. And I also had to cut out caffeine and coffee. I could have green tea once a day. And this was a radical lifestyle shift for me, coming from popping bottles, drinking wine, having steak dinners, going to Mastro's, like doing the whole thing, to this moment of, wow, really changing my whole diet and lifestyle in order to support not only what was going into my body and being applied to my body, but what I was consuming and digesting, so that my whole body could come into harmony and homeostasis with itself to create the most optimal healing environment possible in order for this to work. Now, that's an explanation of how the Escoratics work. Now, I went through that and I had to change my food to all organic food. I had to really learn how to cook for myself. My entire life had changed. And there's a question around, does it work for cells in the throat? I don't know if it works for cells in the throat, although your throat and your cervix do have the same makeup DNA tissue. Your throat, your larynx, and your cervix are the same DNA tissue makeup. So I could say potentially. However, I would consult a doctor. I do not know if there is a treatment, an alternative treatment to throat cancer or to treating those types of things in the throat. So I would invite you to go and consult a practitioner or do some research on that. And I see one of the comments of like, I can't stop crying. Thank you so much for doing this. And Alejandra, like, it's my pleasure to share this with you because I know how much it impacted me and how I felt alone and how I felt lost and how I felt so hopeless and in so much despair. I felt so much shame that I had cervical cancer cells, that I had HPV, that now potentially like I may not be able to be a mother, and all of my shame around being a woman and being able to create life and being able to produce all came up around the shame I had with my own sexual promiscuity that I never really thought about, that came forward as a result of having a partner that I contracted HPV from. And so you could only imagine where all of this was so overwhelming at 26-year-old, so consuming. I would wake up crying all day. I would think about it. I would go to work and I would be so sick taking these different tonics. And now I want to just share briefly the tonics that I was taking, and the protocol that I was taking was 3 times a day, really, really high grade medical dose of vitamin C. I'm talking like, I think it was like 500, like, I don't want to give you the exact because I don't have it, but I can pull, another time I'll pull it, and I can, if you have questions, I can pull my documents and let you know. But it was severe, high medical grade vitamin C. I was taking beta carotene droplets. I was taking iodine droplets. I was also taking a specially crafted tonic that helped cure the HPV, which was loaded with all of the mushrooms and licorice root and dandelion root and all of these really great roots and herbs and all of the mushrooms. And I would have to take these 3 times a day before I was eating to really help, again, create the system. And I'm sharing in more detail because in the past I've shared with you in one of my other videos that I've had it, and it was such a catalyst for my spiritual awakening and my growth that brought me to my life's purpose and calling. But I had many questions that asked me about the actual escharotic treatment. And that's why I wanted to come on and share, with this being Women's Month, having more cervical cancer awareness, because I know that more and more women are being diagnosed with cervical dysplasia, severe high grade, and don't know that there's another option and another way to doing the LEEP procedure. Now, it will require you to change your life. It will require you to change your diet. It will require you to slow the fuck down, way down. So no jet setting life, no super partying life, no multiple sex and partner life, no exploring of any of those kinds. It is requiring you to be with yourself and be with your body. Now that can either be a really good thing for you, or that can be a really scary thing. At the time where I was in my life, it was a really scary thing for me because I didn't know how to do that. I actually didn't even know how to be with myself in solitude, because I would feel lonely or I would feel sad, and I would numb out, and I would use cannabis, and I would drink, and I just didn't know how to hold myself or be with myself when I would have a lot of anxiety, and I would numb out with Netflix or with men or with food, and never really addressed this underlining trauma that was happening. Now, before I go into that piece, what I want to share is that in this journey of 2 years, because I had to do the treatment not only once, but twice, but non-invasive because it was that severe. It was a 2-year journey. That 2-year journey, if I did not find meditation, if I did not find yoga to strengthen my body, to strengthen my mind, I don't know how I could have gone through it. If I did not dive deeper into Tantra, and I'm going to just bring in an important piece about Tantra here. I had been studying sacred sexuality on and off, more for fun and pleasure and curiosity of learning the Kama Sutra and sexual positions. You've heard me speak about this many times. I've always been so sexual from the moment that I was birthed out the womb. I have been sexually curious. I have been very sensually and sexually expressed. And when I was going through this healing journey of myself, it was diving deeper into the actual teachings of Tantra, and specifically the teachings of Tantra, which is to not judge sensations as good or bad. Practicing being aware of the sensations in my body was a very big foundational process for me. Because going into those doctor's office and being at home and putting in those vag packs, I had to start to shift my mind from this being horrible and this being really awful into being neutral. That it is just a sensation that I'm experiencing, not being attached to this being a bad sensation or a negative association with it that I've accumulated over the years from my belief systems. But through Tantra, all it is awareness to the present moment and awareness to the sensation. Bringing awareness to the sensation without judging it as good or bad. Therefore, pleasure and pain really are two sides of the exact same coin. Our awareness is a center that can flip it left or right, good or bad, pleasure or pain. And so that is a practice that I started to cultivate, was to not associate the more intense sensations, the discomfort, with pain and suffering and anguish. And don't get me wrong, it was really hard to do that in the beginning. But with time, with devotion, with practice, I started to really cultivate my awareness through breathing, through doing a tantric breath work, through learning how to meditate specifically in nature. Literally rooting and connecting in nature was so helpful for me. And then being able to show up with the strong belief system that this is going to work no matter what. Now, this may be coming in a higher level conversation, but those that are watching me, who follow me, who know that I always come in from this higher spiritual perspective. And so this is not any different any other time. What I learned and what I discovered in my journey was that I had a lot of repressed trauma and emotions. Woo, boy, did I have a lot of unrepressed feelings of anger, of shame from my molestation as a child, from aggression due to my traumatic childhood and the experiences that I had with my body, my self-loathing, my own self-disapproval, my own self-hatred in a variety of different ways. And looking at me, you may think that, what do I have to hate myself about? And I have this beautiful body, as I've gotten a lot of compliments on, and I've heard over the years, but everyone has their own things in one way or another. And for me, I was really unhappy in my body. I was really in my masculine. I was disassociating. I created the belief systems that it was not safe to be a woman in my body, that my sensitivity is a weakness, that I need to armor up, that I need to be harder, that I need to be stronger in order to be successful. I need to be in my masculine. And so therefore I was rejecting all of the feminine parts of myself, the feeling, being called too emotional, being called too sensitive, right? Not wanting to feel the pain or the trauma. And this brought me into a spiritual awakening. I always say, I make a joke, and it's true, that my spiritual awakening happened through my pussy. My pussy wakened me up and said, hey girl, wake up, honey. Get into your body. Get into your roots. Be connected to your feminine reproductive organs. How else was I going to wake you up? That was the biggest wake-up call. My feminine reproductive organs, my genitals, were saying, hey, there's something going on down here. Hey, take a look and pay attention. Don't just live up here. Don't just be in your mind. Don't just be out in the world, honey. Come back down into your body. You are a woman. You have ovaries. You have a cervix. You have a womb. This stuff needs your attention, and you're not connected. And that was a mega wake-up call for me, because all the trauma, all the drama stored in the sacral chakra, in my belly, in my womb, sexual trauma stored in my pussy, my unworthiness, feeling unworthy, feeling broken because of my sexual molestation and trauma, past experiences, all held in my pussy and in my genitals. All of that came up for review. And that gave me so much material to work with that I got to do spiritual ecology and clearing, emotional freedom work, trauma freedom work, body freedom work, clearing these emotions, energy and motion out of my body that I found from a metaphysical perspective and a spiritual psychology perspective, that all disease and dissonance is just dissonance that you have inside of yourself. So dis-ease creates disease. And I was living in dis-ease specifically around my body, my sexuality, and being a woman, and the experience that I had. And so I truly believe that because I never processed my trauma, that I had so many unresolved emotions that were stored, negative emotions, judgmental emotions that were happening inside of me, that this created a disease and a dissonance inside of me. I had gone years without a checkup. Instead of getting a checkup, instead of going and getting a checkup once a year, which as a woman, once a year you go in and you get a pap smear. Go in and get that thing done, honey, once a year. If you're having abnormal pap smears, you go in every 6 months and get yourself checked out, because having HPV, there are no symptoms. Having cervical dysplasia and cancerous cells, there are no symptoms. There's no way for you to know unless you go in and actually get the tests done. It is not like an STD. It is not like having genital warts, let's say, or herpes, where you'll have an outbreak and then you'll know something is up and then you go in and you get a checkout. This is all internal. All of it's internal. So going in to get your PAP is really, really important. And I want to highlight that and have that awareness. If you're lackadaisy on it, don't be so lackadaisy, honey, on it, because get it done and give yourself that peace of mind. If I would have gone earlier, it would not have been as severe and high grade. I wouldn't have gone on the major courageous life journey that I had gone on, and the intensity and the extensivity that was required. However, it was what I needed to do in order to come forward to my life's mission and my calling, and having this deep spiritual awakening through my pussy and my genitals time and time again. Hence why I'm the pussy priestess. It's really knowing that our pussy is this, not only a portal for creativity and life, but our pussy, our genitals are an oracle. There's a wisdom in there. There's a wise woman in there. It leads to the womb, to your second brain. So really having a connection, Having your pussy be your own priestess, be your own healer. Take your life into your own hands, literally. And just because you're diagnosed with something does not mean that it's a forever thing, does not mean that there's only one way to heal it, or that there's only one path or one journey to get there, my loves. No. It is the power of our mind and our belief system. When we create symbiosis with our environment and we create homeostasis within our own body and our internal environment, magic and miracles take place and happen. But it is up to you to decide that, to take that as a priority and to live fully disciplined and in full devotion to that lifestyle change that is being asked of you. So know that you are not a victim to your life circumstances, but that you are truly in a healing position of empowerment, because life is always a series of choices. And in every single moment, you have the choice to make the next choice, to make the next choice, to make the next choice based on how much you believe in yourself. Based on how much you believe in your healing, based on how much you believe in the capacity of yourself to channel more energy, more love, more healing, more light. And that is the truth, is that your mind creates your reality, but your energy has to match that. And if you don't believe internally that you have that capability, that you have that power, then your energy ain't right, then it ain't gonna match your mind, and your match is not gonna match the reality that you're wanting to create. So for me, it's collapsing the quantum field and not choosing any and other reality except for the reality that this is going to work. I put everything down that this is going to work. Any and all realities can't exist. Any and all other possibilities on my healing journey cannot exist. I am devoted to this path. I see the clear ending in this path. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to experience myself. I don't know the ways in which the world is going to support me or challenge me in the way that I'm going to get to where it is that I'm desiring to go. But damn almighty, I know that I'm going to get to that end result. Why? Because I believe in myself. Why? Because I believe in the end result. Why? Because I believe in my body's ability to heal itself. Why? Because I am doing the emotional freedom work to not avoid my shit, but to take a flashlight and to look at my shit, to own my darkness, to love my darkness, to drop deeper into the divinity of who I am as a creator, to the energy of life force of the divine that flows through me. The same force that creates the light, that creates the mountain, that creates the heavens, that creates the earth, that creates the food that we eat, flows through me. And the more that I own that, the more that I clear that, the more that I claim that, the more that that energy can channel through me and heal me. The more that that vitality can move through my veins and my cells, the more that I choose me, the more that my body supports me. That is how it works, my loves. But if we want to go a simple route and cut out parts of our body, do that. You have the freedom to do that. But know there is another way. There is an alternative way that will ask you to know yourself in a deeper level that you may not be ready to know. And that's okay. But there is another way. And it requires you to really align yourself, mind, body, soul, spirit, energetically to create and carve that new way and that new pathway. Neurologically, creating new neural pathways of the possibility of the belief of what's available to you. Creating new energetic ways to allow that vitality and that life force to heal you. Creating new emotional ways, emotional freedom, letting go of your old past, letting go of your old identities, letting go of the way you even relate to pain or discomfort, letting go of your avoiding discomfort, letting go of your aversion to discomfort, getting comfortable in the uncomfortable. It's getting you to know yourself in a completely different way. All of this comes by you taking your life and your healing in your own hands. By starting to show up for your body, associating yourself to your feminine aspects, nurturing them, valuing them, putting yourself as a priority, putting your womb health as a priority, putting your genitals, your freedom, your sexuality, your expression as a top priority and value. You believing in yourself as a value and doing the work to be a magnet for goodness. So, that is what I wanted to share with you all in this conversation today, is that there's another way. And I've said that time and time again, I'm saying it again. There is another way if you are a woman who is facing severe cervical dysplasia, HPV. You don't have to do the LEEP procedure, but you do need to show up for yourself. You do need to make yourself a priority because you are so damn worth it. And you can believe in yourself, and you can believe that healing is available for you. And tag a sister, tag a woman that needs to hear this. Spread this message far and wide, because this information needs to be known for women far and wide all across the world to know about the Escoratics treatment, to know that there is healing that is available, to know that we can be our own greatest healers, to know that our pussy is the priestess and the healer inside of us that we can tap into and access if we choose to do that work. And have awareness. Have awareness about what's happening in your body. Have awareness to your reproductive system. Have awareness to your sexual health, your sensual health, your emotional health. It will serve you so well in the long run and the longevity of your life. I'm so happy to say that it has been more than 10 years and I am cancer-free. It has been more than 10 years and I am HPV-free. It has been more than 10 years, and I am now an international speaker, facilitator, doing healing work, helping women connect to their womb and their feminine essence and energy. But more importantly, I'm at home in my body. I love every aspect of myself. No matter what shape, no matter what size, no matter what phase, no matter what way, I'm in love with myself. And because I'm in love with myself, I continue to create a harmonious relationship with myself, which means there's no dissonance happening inside of me, which means there's no disease happening inside of me, which means I get to stay healthy, happier, longer, which means instead of being in pain and suffering and in dissonance and disease, I get to experience joy and bliss and happiness and connection and connectivity and serving. So without going so long in this, if you have questions about this, message me. If you want to know more about it and you've jumped on later, go back and watch again on what I've shared with you about specifically around how I healed myself. And knowing that this is available and that this is possible, I hope that my story has enlivened, invigorated, healed, and that this energy that you are feeling between us, this possibility, has opened and shaped something for you, even in the tiniest of openings of places. Knowing that from our perspective, we can heal the old perspective, knowing that Tantra is an amazing modality to heal our emotional trauma, our sexual trauma through pleasure, through sensations, through being in our body. Tantra is amazing for this. I love Tantra. It's why I love teaching Tantra and live so tantrically and do my daily tantric practices, because it is truly an amazing yogic way of living and practice. Knowing that have courage of heart, to live from a courageous heart, means that you can create new possibilities when you believe in yourself and you live from courage instead of fear. Knowing that when you believe in yourself, that you collapse and close all and any other quantum fields of possibility, and that you can literally quantum leap, right? This is quantum physics. You can make a leap in your reality into a new paradigm of health, of possibility, of wealth and prosperity. But you've got to believe it and you've got to feel it like the possibility is real and really be behind that, so that possibility can be open and available. So with that, that is how I healed myself naturally from cervical cancerous cells, from cervical dysplasia, and no paths are the same. None of them are the same. This may work for you. This may not work for you. I am not a doctor. I am not a practitioner in creating escharotic treatments. I am simply a messenger and a steward of this information based on my own healing of trauma. And so I would say that if you are getting your pap smears and they're fine and they're healthy, thank gosh, bless, beautiful. And every time you go in, use that as an opportunity to thank your body for being healthy and well. Thank your body for being in harmony with you. And take some time to maybe reflect and see, are there any unresolved emotional issues, any traumas, any dissonance that you know is happening inside of you? And use this as a wake-up call to start doing some of that work, my loves. So that way it doesn't ever get to the moment like me hitting my knees to the ground moment of potentially not being able to have children at 26 years old. And now having to make a life decision so radical. I hope you never have that moment. I hope you never have the moment of going to the office and being diagnosed with HPV or with severe cervical dysplasia. I hope you never have a moment where you hit the ground asking for so much strength because you feel so fucking weak that you don't know what to do and the answers come through. And maybe you do want that moment. And if that's the kind of moment you want, then I wish you health and wealth and happiness that you have exactly that experience. But know that we are going to always have whatever experience it is that our soul has been seeking for us to help for our own evolution. So for me, this has been one of the most tremendous, poetically beautiful, tremendously messy, unraveling, inquiry, experimental decade of my entire life. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And I am so grateful for the journey that I've been on, and so grateful to have the wisdom and the knowledge to be able to share and pass on to each and every one of you. So thank you so much for taking the time of watching this video. Sending you all lots of deep, 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 juicy love, and reach out if you have any questions on this at all. I'd be happy to talk to you, and lots of love. Mwah. Bye.